Hey guys, Jake from Michigan here, habitat consultant with Whitetail Partners. I just want to take some time today to talk to you guys about 5 land features or areas of your property that you should be focusing on for your stand locations to increase the chances of getting close to and having shot opportunities at the local deer herd. Now, hopefully this goes without saying, but I'm going to say it anyways. When you're choosing an area of your property or even a specific tree for your stand, there needs to be a reason that you're picking that spot. It can't just be random. You shouldn't be just going into the woods, picking a random spot on your property, random tree, and saying, this is where I'm going to hunt today. There should always be a reason that you're picking a certain area on your property. Because based on one thing or another, you think that there's an increased chance that the deer are going to walk by that spot. Before we dive into those 5 land features or areas of your property that you should be focusing on, I also want to give you guys a real life example of an area that you should not be focusing on. One of those more random locations, and I'm standing in it right now. So I'm standing behind my house. I'm not in the area that I expect the deer to be. I'm standing in open hardwoods. So it might look like there's some cover back there, but really this area of our property is fairly open, even more so once the leaves come down. Outside of an oak tree here or there, and this year we didn't really have a good crop of acorns anyways, there's not really a reason for the deer to be in this location. And even if they did want to travel through this location, let's say they were trying to get from one side of my property to the other, it is so open that there's not really a defined route for them to get from one side to the other. So if I ever decided that I wanted to hunt this open woodlot, it would be pretty difficult to consistently get close to deer. Sometimes they're traveling down the west side, sometimes they're traveling down the east side, sometimes it's right down the middle. There's a lot of variation with the deer travel through this open woodlot. And when we're hunting or choosing a stand location, we're trying to avoid that as much as possible. We want to have as predictable of deer movement as we can. And again, that's what I want to talk to you guys about in today's video. 5 land features or areas of your property that you should be focusing on for your stand locations to increase your chances of seeing and having shot opportunities at the local deer herd. The first land feature that you guys should be looking out for, and this is one that I really like to hunt in a mixed ag region, would be an inside corner. And for those of you guys that don't know what an inside corner is, it's the back corner of an open field. I'll put some satellite images on the screen to show you guys what an inside corner is, but really it's just that back corner of an open field. So another way to explain it would be, make an L with your hand here, and if inside the L is an open field and you got woodlot over here, this corner right here, that's the inside corner. And the reason they cut that corner a lot is because deer, and especially bucks, they really do not want to expose themselves in that open field. So again, if you have a woodlot over here and a woodlot over here, and you have deer in the southern woodlot, trying to get up to this northern section, the deer are not going to cross most of the time through that open field. What they're going to do is they're going to hug the inside edge of that cover, cut the corner of that inside corner, and then start working their way north. So if you have an inside corner on your property or the property that you hunt, this is an area that I would be looking at for a potential stand location. The second land feature that I want to talk about is another good one, and for very similar reasons. This is a lot of times also located in a heavy ag or maybe a mixed ag region, and that's funnels or connecting cover. A lot of times in areas with agriculture, or this can even be open fields, you're going to have locations of cover. So that could be a woodlot or maybe a swamp. And they're going to connect to other areas of cover, again, maybe a woodlot or another swamp, and they're going to be connected by a thinner strip of cover. This could be a ditch, this could be a hedgerow, this could be a thinner section of that woodlot or that swamp that connects the two sides. Basically, this is a thinner strip of cover connecting the two larger sections, funneling the deer movement, consolidating the deer movement. And the reason this land feature consolidates deer movement, and is another good one to focus on for your stand location, is very similar to that first one, the inside corner. For the most part, deer do not want to be in that open field. So if they're trying to get from one section of cover to the other, they would prefer to not walk the gauntlet through that open field. They would prefer to stay in cover. So as the deer move from one section of cover to the other, there's a really good chance that they're going to take that funnel, that connecting cover. The third land feature that you guys should be looking for on your property for potential stand locations would be pinch points. And really with those first two, the inside corner and those funnels, that connect and cover, those are technically pinch points as well. It's an area that kind of pinches the deer movement down. But those are pinch points mainly because they're in open ag country and the deer are pinching themselves down to the cover. With this third pinch point, I'm more referring to some sort of an obstacle or an obstruction that the deer have to work around, which is going to then pinch their movement down, consolidate their movement. A lot of times with these obstructions or these obstacles, you can see these from satellite photos. If you have a pond on your property, while the deer can walk through that water, they're going to prefer to walk around the pond. Or if you know that you have an area on your property where a lot of trees have fallen down, really made that area difficult to walk through. This is going to be very similar to that pond. The deer could probably get through there, but they're going to prefer to walk around that obstacle. Another example would be if you have an old fence on your property with a gap in it. It doesn't really matter what kind of fence it is. It could be a barbed wire fence where one of the posts fell down, or it could be an old stone fence that kind of just broke down over time. If you have a gap in a fence, there's a good chance that the deer are going to consolidate and pinch down and move through that fence at that location. So while there are a lot of pinch points that you can find from satellite photos, there's also a lot of pinch points that you can find from doing boots on the ground scouting. The fourth land feature that you guys should be looking for in scouting when trying to find consistent deer movement are edges. Changes from one habitat type to the other. Deer, bucks, they love working edges, and it really can be a variety of different habitat types that transition into one another. You could have a cattail marsh that transitions into an open woodlot. You could have an open field, that maybe goes into a tag alder swamp. You could have a big pocket of conifers next to an apple orchard. Most of the time, if you can find the area where one habitat type transitions into the other, you're going to find a trail that the deer are using to work that edge. Another type of edge that defines deer movement would be elevation change. Most properties here in Michigan don't have a whole lot of elevation change. For the most part, they're fairly flat, especially when you compare them to other states, Wisconsin or maybe southeast Ohio. But even a small elevation change can have a big impact. And a lot of times these elevation changes coincide with the habitat change. So you might have maybe a 5-foot elevation change as the open hardwoods transitions into a swamp system. Along with the change in habitat, that drop in elevation creates a perfect edge for those deer to travel. With talking about elevation change, that brings me to the fifth land feature that you guys should be focusing on for your stand locations, and that's a bench system. And a bench system or a bench is really just a long, flat section of a hillside. So if you have a hillside with a pretty steep incline, there's going to be a spot on that hillside that kind of flattens out before it drops back down. Where that flattens out, that's the bench. And so as the deer are walking along the side of the hillside, they're going to prefer to walk along the bench. There's a few reasons why deer prefer to travel along those bench systems. The first is that it's easier. It's a lot easier to walk along that flat road along the side of the mountain as opposed to walking along the cliffside. Now again, they can do it. It's just much easier to walk along that bench system. Another reason would be the safety factor. These bench systems offer a lot of security. Deer can remain hidden from everything above or on the other side of the hill. A lot of times they can see what's going on below, and they can use thermals to their advantage as they work along that bench. So if your property is a little hillier, or maybe you're hunting in the mountains, one of the land features that I would be looking for is a bench system for my stand locations if I'm trying to see consistent deer movement. And I know there's way more than just 5 land features or 5 great locations for stands, but those were the 5 land features that I want to talk about in today's video. If you guys do have any questions on anything, please drop those in the comment section below, and please let us know if we can help you change your property for good.